Greetings, Skill Incarnate bringing you all the latest indie gaming goodness. Welcome back as we check out another indie game. This time we're looking at The King's Dilemma Chronicles, developed and published by Big Trouble Game Studio. This game is based on the board game of the same name, and it's a very popular title. The reviews on Steam are very good, and I was very interested in the concept of the game. It basically has you controlling the rise of a kingdom, making important decisions that will either lead your kingdom to prosperity or bury you in the dust of history. I was very interested in this game, and I think you guys are going to like it too. Let's check out The King's Dilemma Chronicles. Welcome to the Kingdom of Ankist, a place of daring expeditions, gruesome battles and arcane mysteries. Located in the northern continent of Lewick, Ankist is one of the largest kingdoms in the known world, but it's not the only one. The Kingdom of Muir to the northwest advanced both culturally and technologically. The small and harmless Kingdom of Sidlada to the south with its stingy lands. The Republic of Corpius to the northeast with commercial abilities beyond imagination. The Kasukian Empire to the distant east, where the Emperor lives in opulence while the people struggle. The southern continent, barely explored, is only known for the fierce ivory desert and the tales and legends shared by the few foreign travellers venturing to our lands. Ankist has been enjoying several decades of peace, but less than 2 centuries ago it was divided into many small kingdoms, and raider tribes, conquered in wars or united by diplomacy, over the centuries to be incorporated as duchies or marks. Little is known about what happened before this age of fragmentation, but what we know for sure is that the lands of the known world were ruled by several lost civilizations throughout the ages. What caused these civilizations to fall is unclear. You are going to assume the role of the head of the council, a governing body ruling in the name of the king, located in Libra, the capital city of Ankist. Before you begin, take a quick test to determine the house that suits you best. Now this is actually a bit more of a personality test for me, as well as the means of determining which faction suits my personal taste. In a financial crisis, is it moral to sacrifice knowledge in order to save money? It is never moral to sacrifice knowledge, because knowledge has no price. It is priceless. No contest. Is it okay to restrict certain religious practices that clash with the established cult? Well, I mean, no, because freedom of speech. If a neighbouring country gets invaded, do we step in to support them? Now this is a hard one, because a lot of these questions have real life, there's examples in real life, and this is a case by case basis. This is, you know, there's a lot here. I'm gonna cautiously say yes, because we need to keep good contact with our allies, but I mean there could be many different circumstances as to why they're invading that country. It's not an easy one, but I'm going to say yes. With childbirth on decline, how do we strongly incentivize families to have children? No, because they should have the freedom to choose. Each house has different long-term goal and backstory, which affects their mutual relationship and affinity. Select info to read more about the two houses and make your choice. So we have two different houses we can choose from, and we can read a little bit more about them. The mild climate, as well as a safe and favourable geographical position of the Duchy of Olwen, enabled this rapid economical and cultural development. Your family has always pushed for a strong investment in technological research and alchemy. Despite having excellent carpenters in your fair share of coastline, you don't have a strong tradition of shipbuilding. Your people do not like to leave home, but they constantly try to make their houses more welcoming and safe. Your region has produced many famed scholars, and their knowledge has been applied to all agriculture and medicine. Amongst the great inventions your people produced are some of the most innovative treatments for human and animal diseases, fertilizers and pesticides. Meanwhile, your great architectural works such as the efficient mills, sturdy embankments and irrigation canals have transformed your territory into an enormous barn that feeds most of the kingdom. The wealth and well-being spread across all social classes thanks to your architectural and alchemic advances have predisposed your family and your people to accept novelty and whatever seems to bend the laws of nature as potential resources for improving society. You firmly believe poverty, famine and disease can be eradicated from the kingdom through ingenuity and knowledge. I mean, these guys do resonate with me. Self-actualization, pursuit of knowledge, technological advancement, very, very much aligns with my personal values. I mean, if you wanted to, I could roleplay as something opposite to me, but I'm trying to pick something that appeals to me. Bloden was once part of the Kingdom of Muir, but in the year 143 its territories passed under the rule of Libra, after Muir lost the war against the Kingdom of Ankist. You didn't outlast this change. You were not great warriors and you preferred to obey the laws of someone else rather than face war. Hell no. It's not difficult to understand why. Your territories overlook the Gulf of Issaropia. Your climate is mild and you have abundant harvests and flourishing businesses. Hell no, we're not going under someone else's government. Your people are hospitable and open for almost nothing ever happens in your duchy. Foreigners are welcomed with curiosity rather than suspicion. Fleur, your capital, has a large square as well as numerous paved streets. All remains of the ancient Sabaean League. The great lighthouse of Cape Diaz was carved from the ruins of an ancient building dating back to the time of the Union of Ceylon. The abundance of time and availability of resources allows your people to have a marked spirituality and a higher level of education than the rest of the kingdom. Your family is often a patron of the best artists, philosophers and scientists. You are convinced that harmony can be achieved through the union of well-being, religion and science. I mean, I like their pursuit of knowledge, but this just reads weakness. I'm going to go with the House of Olwen. They are, even though they are engineers and scholars, they also have strong values, and they align with my personal values quite well. A group of scholars in Libra recently discovered the ancient chronicles often blame a black circle, a dark rising sun, a cursed eclipse or other similar images for causing the demise of many past empires. After observing similar clues in recent years, historians started speculating about the existence of a secret society that has been leading civilizations to oblivion for centuries. This organization is referred to as the Black Dawn. Some think they are a force of chaos, others view them as an engine for creative destruction, and some view them as the heralds of a new dawn, harbingers of progress and change. Whatever their true nature is, it seems that a huge battle is coming. As head of the council, you have the power to shape the future of the kingdom, but the Black Dawn is lurking in the shadows, its existence threatening and yet intriguing. Your role is to inform the king about the decisions of the council, but it is within your power to alter them if you wish, provided you have enough power. It's time to begin. A new king is about to be crowned. How will the future of Ankist unfold? The trumpets strike 3 rising notes and 81 doves are released as Harald V is crowned king by the prior mother of the cult. The people erupt in a cheer of joy. Our hopes of enduring prosperity are renewed with a new king. Foreign dignitaries from Kasuk, Corpus, Sidlada and Muir crowd the royal castle to evaluate the new king and win his favour. The ceremony is followed by a feast lasting for 3 days and nights along all the streets of Libria, our capital city. A week later, sitting on his throne behind the grand chiseled door of the council, the new king addresses us for the first time. Any authority is flickering, and power can be a blessing or a curse for those on whom it's exercised, he says. After a long pause, he adds, ruling is an unsolvable dilemma. Such is the burden of kingship. The Eclipse keeps track of 6 storylines of the King's Dilemma, Chronicles advancing with each story chapter. When all storylines are completed, the Eclipse will end and the uprising will start. So now what we need to do is, as the council, the leader of the council, we have to manage the 5 resources of the kingdom. We've got influence, wealth, morale, welfare and knowledge. Each dilemma will move one of these resources, changing the stability of the current reign. So our goal isn't to actually move these to the top or the bottom, but to keep them as central as we can. We want to maintain balance. And that is easier said than done. Let's have a look. Now this is how most of the game plays out. It's all about investigation, reading what's happening, determining the best possible approach and making a decision. It's sometimes a very hard and a very challenging decision, and hoping that you've made the right one. The High Commander has received a message from our soldiers stationed at the troublesome northern border of the Mark of Talk. Scarum smugglers are offering to provide us large quantities of red iron, a strange metal that can break even the strongest steel. The army wants the majority of it, but there's a lot of money to be made by trading it. Do we reserve the red iron, a strong metal, for the army? To solve a dilemma, use your power to make the final decision after the council has gone through the voting phase. Approving the majority is free, but subverting it will cost you, I'm guessing, power equal to the difference in votes between the 2 sides plus 1. Be careful, if your power reaches 0, the current reign will end. Solving the dilemma moves the resources on the track as predicted by the red and blue gauges. The amount by which a resource moves will be revealed after the vote. So, thinking of this, we have a few different avenues. If we keep this iron for our own army, we provide a very powerful advantage to our defence. If we sell the metal, then we do get a bunch of money, but we're basically putting powerful weapons into the hands of our enemies, possibly. This, to me, it seems like a no-brainer. The third angle here too is we have to look at the people that are voting. It's very obvious here that the majority are going to say yes. So I'm going to vote yes too, because I think it just makes good sense. We have a very valuable resource, and selling it off to me seems like a very, very dumb decision. strong economy requires a strong army to protect it. The High Commander contracts the smugglers to establish the operation. The steady flow of red iron from the mostly unexplored lands of the Folafwa Mountains is supplied directly to the smiths of the army, with only a little remaining for our merchants. To thank the king for the prosperous business, the smugglers gift him a masterful red iron sword named Scarlet Tide. Hell yeah! I want one of those swords. The army soon elects the blade as a symbol and a sign of its future power. A significant portion of the imported red iron starts flowing towards the royal armoury, and military smiths begin experimenting with new ways of working with the sturdy metal. Because of its exceptional sturdiness, red iron is difficult to mould into weapons and armour, but a few blades are forged for the most elite regiments. Each time a resource moves, the stability marker to the right will follow. If the stability marker reaches either end of the track, the rain will end. Keep all the resources in the highlighted area on the track to score more points when the rain ends. So our goal is to try and keep this balanced for as long as we possibly can. The longer we keep these in play, the longer our king's reign will continue and the more resources and influence we can amass. I am confident that was the right decision. The Royal Marshal reports to us that 3 windmills were set on fire last night along the road between Libria and Golden Harbour. The affected millers are asking for help rebuilding their windmills. Do we fund the reconstruction of the damaged windmills? I mean, it's food. With each dilemma, the time counter on the right will increase when it reaches a space with the skull icon. The king has a 50% chance of dying, or 100% if it reaches the final space. Okay. So this is going to cost money but increase our food. And if we say no, our food's going to go down. Having a look at the council, it's very obvious here that they agree with our decision to repair the damaged windmills. I mean, it's a no-brainer. The council agrees, we agree, we're going to lose money. Either way, we're going to lose resources. At least here, we can spend a bit of money to keep our food supply coming. Again, a no-brainer. With the monetary help of the Crown, a small squad of carpenters is hired to rebuild the burned-out windmills with the most advanced techniques available. After the work, we're informed that they notice the smell of an unknown alchemical substance at all 3 locations. Your moral alignment determines which rewards you get at the end of each reign. The rewards can be coins, prestige points, or crave points. The resource track highlights the target area to score points. The more resources in the target area, the more you'll be rewarded. Above the resource track, there's a preview of your rewards based on the current position of the resources and your moral alignment. Okay, you can see here we've got some... I mean, we are a good king. Most of our resources have been, most of our decisions have been ethical, and they have aligned with the other council members. So I think we're doing a good job. It appears our smuggler friends have run into trouble. We've lost contact with the smugglers. Many think they fell prey to Scarum raiders in the lawless mountains. Some suggest we should send a military contingent to investigate. A dangerous quest as could be seen as trespassing by the kingdom of Enkel, further to the north, with whom we have not had contact for decades and whose military strength is unknown. Do we send the army? Voting in accord with a council member will improve your relationship, and when it reaches the maximum level, you can spend coins to form an alliance. Now you can see here that I have a pretty good relationship with these two. I mean, these guys are my nemesis. They don't like me, but these other two factions are in a pretty good accordance with me. Now, I mean, this seems to me to be a no-brainer. This is going to cost some food, and it's going to cost... it may cost us a bit of conflict with the other kingdom. If we do nothing, we will lose this valuable resource, and more importantly, the trust of the other council members and the people. Our soldiers leave Torque, heading to the harsh Falafua Mountains. A few days later, only a handful come back. The survivors tell they found the smugglers' camp and their corpses near the Ankle border, but were attacked by a handful of extremely skilled fighters bearing red iron weapons and armour. Despite their superior numbers, our soldiers barely managed to escape. Solving certain dilemmas will have permanent side effects on the kingdom. When this happens, a chronicle will be registered in the table above the resource track. Their effects, either positive or negative, are applied to the corresponding resources at the beginning of each reign. Positive chronicles move the corresponding resource up by 1, while negative chronicles move them down by the same amount. The sacrifice of our soldiers north of the border gave us insight into the Kingdom of Enkle's military strength and way of fighting. The prospect on further research on the subject excites our scholars. So we have achieved a valuable piece of knowledge at the cost of many of our soldiers' lives. Such is the price of progress. Despite the relatively short distance, contact between the Kingdom of Ankle was lost for decades. The bitter lands that divide us allow very few exchanges, and they never had much to offer anyway. Though they were in a militaristic society, we considered the Enkali as inoffensive as the Scarams, nomadic tribes living in the unclaimed brown hills along our border. Yet despite their small numbers, it appears they've become a threat thanks to red iron. They must have discovered it only recently, but they've mastered its harvesting and smithing much better than we. The scouts we sent even sighted an impressive fortress reinforced with red iron plates they call the Crimson Keep. I'm getting some Game of Thrones Night Watch vibes from our new friends the Ankle. Do we send the army to investigate the smuggler's disappearance? Well, we've done that. If a resource is moved twice a row in the same direction, it will move one additional step. The icon colour will show you the last direction the resource moved, white if it moved up, black if it moved down. After a second time the resource moves in the same direction, it will gain a momentum marker and move 2 additional steps. So this adds an even greater level of strategy here. We have to try and make sure the resources are moving in opposite directions as much as possible. The more we push a resource in a certain direction, the faster it's going to move and the quicker our reign is going to end. And as you can see, we are reaching the end of our first reign, so I may have to make some unpleasant decisions to keep us going. Sorello, a Codinian merchant from Duin, has taken an interest in the Scarlet Tide, the King's red sword. He's offering a kingly sum to purchase a replica. The army, however, has grown attached to its new symbol. They would not like to see its symbolic value tainted and diluted for the caprice of some lazy Codinian merchant. Do we allow the replica of the Scarlet Tide to be made? Now we can spend coins to corrupt council members, and this means that there won't be a cost. But I mean, I'm looking at this here, and all of the houses, it's a unanimous decision. Everyone's saying no. Hell no, we don't want this. And that means that this is going to move down, but I mean, honestly, it makes sense to me as well. We have a symbol, and symbols can be very important. If we dilute the meaning of that symbol, not only would it affect the potency of it, it could affect the people's morale, it could affect the army's will to fight. This is a lose-lose situation, so it's an obvious choice for me. It's no. We politely decline. Our soldiers rejoice over our decision not to turn their symbol into a commercial product. Codinians are known for being rich and refined, but weak and decadent too. Ever since our decision to forbid the manufacture of a replica, the Scarlet Tide has been cherished even more. Its sight fills the battle lines with courage and determination. As you can see, we've got a large hit to morale. We didn't sell our people out cheap. And as a result, the morale of the people has improved. The council is happy, and we roll on to our next dilemma. Morano, a rich merchant from the remote desert city called the City of Tents, wants to negotiate a lucrative trade agreement. Among his samples of goods is a slave concubine in chains. He claims a woman comes from the desert temple that allegedly hides the golden map. A fabled item we've been seeking for decades. Many of our people are against slavery. Do we force Morano, a rich merchant, to free the slave? Oh, this is a tough one, you see. Because while I'm against slavery, and it's terrible, we could potentially start a war over a single person. The looking at it from a pure pragmatic view, the price of saving one life could be millions of others or thousands of others. But the council has spoken. It's almost completely agreed. And I'm not willing to go against the will of the council here, and my own conscience. There may be some negative repercussions for this, but I hope I don't regret this decision. We can't tolerate slavery. We force the merchant to free his concubine and send him away. This compromises our trade agreement, but the people rejoice that we stood up for the poor woman. Many are also excited at the prospect that she may reveal the location of the mythical golden map. Legend says it leads to an endless fountain of liquid gold. See, that was a hard one. Like, I wanted to release the slave, but you release one person and then the country declares war on you, and then thousands of you people die. So it's kind of, it's a balancing act. But on the other hand, we didn't compromise our morals. Our choice to free the merchant slave compromised our relationship with the southern desert lands before it even started. To be honest, our culture is so different, I don't think any sort of relationship would have lasted. Sarah, the woman we freed from slavery, comes from a remote temple of the Mother in the south in Marudi, which we call the Ivory Desert. She says the golden map is guarded by this temple. Sarah was kidnapped and enslaved by her former master while visiting the City of Tents. Her story becomes popular in the kingdom and spurs a burst of interest in the unexplored southern continent she calls Conferta. Sarah claims it is the land where the ancient Sabaean League once prospered and fell. Our scholars immediately start preparing a caravan to retrieve the golden map and take Sarah back home, but traversing the Ivory Desert, famous for temples of burning white sand, will not be easy. Now, unfortunately, our money is just bottoming out at the moment. So I'm going to try and see if we can find a decision that's going to get us some cash. Here we go. The Tribune reports to us that an unprecedented drought has hit Terrell, ravaging crops and decimating the cattle. The price of bread has increased to the point that many among the poorest can't afford it. But the Kingdom of Muir is offering us uncannily cheap wheat. Importing it would save the poorest from starvation, but its low price is suspicious. Do we import low-priced Murian wheat? See, this is a hard one. So, again, the council is agreeing to it. This seems sus, but, I mean, I'm going to have to say aye because the starvation. It's either death or food that could possibly be bad. Definite death versus possible death. I'm going to take possible death. Importing Murian wheat, however cheaply, is an unexpected expense that makes the royal treasurer turn up his nose. The poorest fringes of the population in Tyrrell, however, are relieved by the announcement. The drought has impacted food reserves in all our duchies. Importing grain was our only chance to help Tyrrell. Muir is a small but rather advanced kingdom. They claim they developed a new fertilizer that allowed them to greatly increase their wheat production without compromising on quality. Yet the Murian wheat we're importing is suspiciously grey as ash, as is the flour obtained from it. Tyrellians complain that Muir is insulting them with poor goods because of the historical bad blood between them. But the poorest outcasts are glad that they have something to eat. They do not care about the colour of their bread. I mean, again, definite starvation versus possible death. Now, unfortunately, our decisions, while I think they have been the best for the people, they have resulted in our treasury getting dangerously low. So I'm going to look for a dilemma that will allow us to... Here we go. So you can see the different resources that you get determine the resources that are displayed for a dilemma are the resources you can gain. So I need to get some money. It's time to resupply the army. We could save money by mixing regular and grey wheat to produce the bread rations for our soldiers. Do we use a mix of cheap grey and regular wheat to feed our soldiers? I mean, this may earn me some enemies, but we're broke. We've got no money. So, unfortunately, we have to. We're in a situation where we don't have a choice. We don't have the money. Considerable amounts of cheap grey flour is diluted with regular and more valuable flour to produce the bread rations for our soldiers. Producing food for the army becomes remarkably cheaper, but the soldiers don't fail to notice the diminished quality of their food. We decided to feed the soldiers with cheap bread. Each morsel reminds them how little we care for their well-being, even as they risk their lives for us. This is not gone unnoticed by the soldiers. But we have managed to keep a bit of money. So we'll see if there's anything else we can... Nope, there's nothing else we can do to earn a bit of money. Or we can go to the desert. Laszlo, a botanist, requests funds to study the poisonous red cacti covering a small area of the Ivory Desert. Some believe them to be tears left behind by Orsal, the saint daughter of strength, when she took the burden of human brutality upon herself to free us from it. Do we fund Laszlo's research into the cacti? So this is an interesting one, because how do we do this without any money? And that's the challenge here. We don't have any funds. We've got no money to spare, so I'm going to have to say no. Oh, but we're going to make enemies out of the whole council. No, it's not worth it. We'd have to go against the ruling of the entire council to do this, and the cost to us could be massive. So more knowledge is always a good thing. We authorise Laszlo to take some samples of the red cacti, and we provide the means for him to do so. Laszlo discovered the red cacti are very sturdy and need a little water. They can grow almost everywhere, and if boiled, prove to be healthy and nutritious. Oh, there we go. We've solved our food problem. I wish we had done this before we had made the decision to import the bad wheat. I mean, it cost us a bit of money, but I think that was definitely the right decision to make. Ah! And unfortunately, despite our best effort, the king has abdicated. We've lost our king. At the end of each reign, you will gain rewards as described by your moral alignment. I think what killed me was decision to use the cheap wheat. We should have not done that. We should have just taken the hit. You will gain rewards as described by your moral alignment. If you manage to put all the resources in the target area, you'll get more rewards. Okay, so we can... we can now move some of... because once we get a new king, we can keep some of the benefits we got from the previous king's reign. At the end of each reign, you'll have to choose the moral alignment for your heir to the head of the council. The longer the reign, the more moral alignments will be available. So I would say our reign was a largely moderate. And with the moderate, we get a extra crown for every white resource and one for every black resource in the central area of the track. Okay. So what that means is we get additional bonuses if we keep the resources in the center of the track, and I think that's pretty much what I've been trying to do anyway. So we'll be a moderate. Spend your prestige and crave points to prepare for the uprising. Each preparation shows its rewards and the required number of reigns to be completed. Rewards are collected at the beginning of each reign after you complete the preparation. Additionally, most preparations unlock a dilemma that you will face in the uprising. So, we actually got a new preparation where we can now purchase red cacti. And this means that our food problem is going to go away. Excellent. This preparation takes 3 reigns to complete and unlocks a final dilemma and awards you with 3 gold at the beginning of each reign. Very nice. You will unlock more preparations as you progress through the campaign, so visit this screen frequently to prepare for the big battle that is to come. You won't be able to unlock all the preparations in a single playthrough, as some will be locked out depending on the choices you make. So this game does encourage you to play through more than once using different factions, making different decisions, and playing the game a number of different ways, both good, bad, and neutral, to get all the possible unlockable extras to make the game a bit easier to get to the final stage. It is a roguelike, so you will expect to die a few times, to fail, and eventually, as you unlock more of these, you get further into the kingdom's life, and you get to the end game in a better shape. All done. Here we can manage the council and review information about the houses, and we can now form an alliance with other kingdoms. And we can see which of these, these guys are basing our decision on our alignment with these different groups. We seem to have the best relationship with talk here. And you can see also that their nemesis doesn't really like us either. So we had some similar decisions, and we're aligned morally very similarly. Unfortunately, I don't have the money to do this, so we're going to have to move on. And that is the end of our current reign and the end of the video. I hope that you enjoyed this first look at this fantastic game. Check it out. The King's Dilemma is an excellent recreation of the board game. I wish it was multiplayer like the board game, but I can understand it might be a little bit hard to represent in electronic form. That being said, it's a very solid game. I've really enjoyed it. The only bad thing I can say about it is that people who want a more action-oriented game and are going to be put off by walls of text may find this game not to their taste, but I've loved it. If you're a fan of board games, you're looking for something a bit different, this is a natural choice. Go and check it out. If you like this video, leave me a like, leave me a subscribe, and I hope you'll join me next time when we check out another indie game. Until then, Skill Incarnate, out.